Hello and welcome back. In this lesson, we'll talk about handling images in production environment. If you remember, currently we're using our app's local file system to store images, and Heroku, which we use for production, will get rid of these images every time you do a deploy. Not just that, but you don't want your application to host all the images. You want a separate storage service where images or files are stored. Now, it's okay for development to host images within our app, since we're only storing 4 or 5 images for testing. But think about hundreds and thousands of users each loading files, and you'll see why a third-party storage service is essential. So for our app, we'll use a cloud storage service provided by Amazon, and it's called Simple Storage Service, or S3 for short. First, we'll need to make some configuration updates to our image handling. So let's go ahead and take care of that. If you remember, before we had created this picture uploader file. So we'll go here. Now currently this says storage file, okay? So let's go ahead and make an update to this. We're going to say to use storage file only if we're in development. So this is how you code that. If rails.env.production, basically you're saying if the Rails environment is production, then use a separate storage service, and we're going to use fog for production image handling. Else, use file, meaning for production, use fog. For anything else, use file. And then put an end. Okay, save that. The next thing we want to do is we have to create a file in our config. So if you go to your config directory and under initializers, here we're going to have to create a file for carrier wave. Okay, so go ahead, right click on initializers, and then new file, call it carrier_wave.rb. And over here, if Rails env.production, okay, we're gonna have to set some configuration parameters here. So carrier wave.configure do Now we're going to set the fog credentials. So config.fog_credentials equals :provider, and we're going to say within quotes AWS for Amazon Web Services, :AWS _access key _ID, and here we're going to say env, short for environment, open bracket, square bracket, and within quote s3 _access key, then :AWS _secret access key, env, same thing. We're going to call this the S3 underscore secret underscore key. Okay. And then you want to configure the directory. So config fog underscore directory equals env s3 bucket. And we're going to have to set them for Heroku's environment. So we will, in order to do that, we need to create them first. And for that, we're going to have to set up our Amazon Web Services account. So basically, let me go through that again. Now we have a need for a S3, which is the simple storage service access key, S3 secret key, and S3 bucket. Our configuration for our app is almost complete, not completely. At this point, the only thing that's missing in our app config is the fog credentials. And then after that, I'm sorry, not the fog credentials, the fog gem. We have to add the fog gem to our application. And then after that, all that'll be left will be to set up the Amazon account, set some permissions, and then set these three in our Heroku config. Okay, so let's go ahead and take care of that now. Now you may be asking why we're using these env variables instead of just hard coding these three items into our application. Well, that's something we don't want to do, right? You want to avoid hard coding sensitive information in your application as much as possible. So basically, Heroku uses these env variables to help us do just that, to avoid hard coding sensitive information like access keys and secret keys. Okay? So go to aws.amazon.com, then try AWS for free.